I just want to have a big house. Just because. You know the amount of cleaning that you're going to do when you have that house? Buckets of paint. There's always, Ghanaian houses need so much upkeep. When you build these big homes, you have to decorate it in the right way. This huge bedroom, which is like 20 by 20 or 30 by 30. It's like someone's whole house can fit into your bedroom. From the construction of laying the blocks right down to how you're going to furnish it. It's beautiful. A lot of houses are beautiful from the outside, but inside makes no sense. Look at me. Because I'm saying it because I know some of you people are going to come from the comments. Hey, you two, you've got a house, you haven't finished building. Yeah, I haven't finished building my house. My house is big. Don't get carried away when you're building this mega super house that you want to have. To count the cost. It's expensive to build. How many people are really looking for a 10-bedroom house? Hey guys, welcome back. Okay, today, can we talk about building for a moment, please? I want to give a few realities when it comes to building in Ghana, because I feel like a lot of us, when we move to Ghana, we have an aim that we want to build. And so I thought, you know what, let me talk about some of the realities of what that's like. Not just building, but something specific, okay? I want to talk about the size of your house. Can we just talk about that for a moment? It's a great thing to be able to say, okay, I'm going to come to Ghana and I want to build this mansion. That's like our dream, right? This Fresh Prince of Bel-Air house, like where you have so many rooms, so many different spaces represent different things. That is great. But I feel like sometimes we don't count the cost of what that truly means. Okay. Like, I know for me, when I started, I kind of thought that, I had the idea where I felt like, yeah, I want a big house and I still want a big house, but I didn't really think about the implications of what that would mean. Because it's not just about building a big house. There's a lot more to it than that. It comes with costs. It comes with maintenance. There is a whole host of things that you have to think about. So it's not just about saying, okay, well, I just want to have a big house. Just because. No, this is Ghana. Like, there are some things that will affect you because of the size of your house, okay? You have to understand, Ghana is very, very dusty, right? While the roads outside are not 100% paved, right, you're going to get a lot of dust in the air, especially during the Hamatan season, right, where there's sand absolutely everywhere. So do you know the amount of cleaning that you're going to do when you have that house? I don't think you understand. You will know, even if you've ever had a house in the West, right, and you've moved out because you're selling it. If you don't go into that house and if it doesn't feel a bit of life, you can quickly tell that this house has been empty for some time. The space kind of feels dead. It just feels like it has no life in it. And it's the same thing here in Ghana. So if you have built a house and it has lots of rooms, those rooms that are not being used kind of feel like dead space. It feels like there's nothing going on in it. It feels like a complete waste. And then not only does it feel like a waste, it's like to upkeep the space. I know people that have had big houses, right? And the rooms that are not used, it feels like a burden to try and stay on top of these rooms and keep them clean. Make sure you don't have roaches going in there. Make sure you don't have, geckos in there that are like pooping all over the place. It's like the upkeep of the room because it's not being used. Now, for your own bedroom, right, you're going to use it, you make sure it's maintained to a certain level. But if you have rooms that are continuously empty, it becomes a burden on you because it's just dead space and it's just another maintenance cost. Really, how many of us really need a 10-bedroom house? It's you and you have 2, maybe 3 kids. You don't need a 10-bedroom house. And a lot of us get swept up in the dream of building this amazing house that looks great to their family members and to other people, that they forget about what it really does entail to have this huge, humongous house. Now, let's not even talk about painting. Because in Ghana, your house, you have to repaint it every so often. The bigger that house is, the more costly it's going to be for you to paint that house. Buckets of paint. There's always, Ghanaian houses need so much upkeep. In Ghana, we don't have a culture when it comes to maintenance. A lot of people here when they build a house, they just leave it to do its thing and they wait for things to completely degrade before sorting it out. Rather than fixing problems, oh, okay, there's a little something here, let me fix it. They'll wait until now there's a hole in the wall before they think, okay, let me fix it. Now, if you have this huge mansion house, can you guess how much maintenance you're going to have to do? Not to mention the fact that you're going to have to go around and be checking the house all the time to make sure that every place is in good standing. Things happen that we don't even automatically see. Even in our regular sized houses, sometimes we're like, oh man, I didn't see that because it was, something was in front of it blocking it. We didn't realize this is happening, that is happening. Oh, there's moles growing here, or there's this, or there's that. Like having a huge house here, especially in Ghana with the atmosphere. I did a video where I talked about, the mildew that comes during certain seasons. Now, when you think about that, can you think about maintaining a house that has all these bedrooms where the air is not circulating and it's just stagnant? The number of times I've been to people's houses, right? I personally, I'm a bit of a germaphobe, but I don't hide it. I'm a germaphobe. I really don't like sleeping over places that are not my own. It makes me very uncomfortable. And it's made worse. It's made worse when I have to go into spaces where the place is clearly not being used for a long time. And it just feels empty and it just feels like it's a dead space. It makes me personally feel very uncomfortable because I can tell there's no life in the room. There's nothing. It's just been locked. It's almost like there's ghosts in the room. That's what it feels like. It has that kind of feel. I'm not saying there is ghosts, but it has that kind of feeling about it. I don't like spaces like that. And a lot of Ghanaian homes have it. Because another thing you have to understand is when you build these big homes, you have to decorate it in the right way. There's so many issues when it comes to Ghanaian houses that we need to address. Like you have this huge business, this huge bedroom, which is like 20 by 20 or 30 by 30. It's like someone's whole house can fit into your bedroom. And all you have in there is a bed, a wardrobe, a singular chair. And the space just feels dead. It's like, it doesn't feel comfortable. It doesn't feel welcoming. So if you're going to build a big house like that, you're going to need an interior designer to help you design the space so that the space doesn't feel dead. A lot of the homes here sometimes, the way that they are built architecturally, there's so much dead space. And it's like people are using it and outsiders are using it for ironing space. I'm like, how is this an ironing space? I don't understand. It just makes no sense to me. Or we'll say, oh, this is a family TV area. Well, really, it's not. They've just tried to make it into this family TV area because the way the house was designed, it was designed not very well. And so now we have this dead space. Now, when you build a big house, you have to think of that if you don't get it built in the right way, architecturally, it's not going to make sense. You're going to have lots of dead spaces. And let's be honest, when someone presents you with this plan of what your houses can potentially look like, a lot of us don't have the foresight to be able to visually walk through and make sure that the layout makes sense until we see it come up. And then when we see it come up, we're like, oh my gosh, this doesn't make sense. Like this doesn't flow, that doesn't flow. The houses that you see that have a window in the hallway. Why does your bedroom have a window in the hallway? I don't understand that. Why am me who's a guest in your house, I'm walking through and now I can see into your bedroom? What is that? You have to, if I'm not careful, I'm going to go off topic. But you have to, when you're constructing your house, you have to be able to think of how it's going to make sense from beginning to end. From the construction of laying the blocks right down to how you're going to furnish it. You can't just have a huge, massive living room and have one sofa in there. It doesn't make sense. So when the bigger the house you have, the more costly things are going to be. You can't just have one sofa in there. Now you're going to have to think about having two pieces of sofa, not just two sofas, but two different sets of sofas in order to fill the room so that room doesn't feel dead space. So many houses here, you walk into it, it's just like dead space. It just makes no sense. It doesn't feel like, okay, because the person has this humongous house, like, oh my gosh, I just want to spend a day in here. I just want to stay here. I don't want to leave. No, you're quick to want to leave because it doesn't feel welcoming because they've created this huge house that makes no actual sense when you look at it. It's beautiful. A lot of houses are beautiful from the outside, but inside makes no sense. I don't Like there's no planning gone into it. But anyway, I'm digressing. Let me come back. Now, when you have a big house, you have to think about your bills. Because no longer, like I said, even when it comes to the circulation of air, every room, are you going to put AC in all your 10 bedrooms that you have? Are you going to put AC inside the bed, every single bedroom? It costs money. Even if you say, I'm not putting AC, I'm putting fan. The time you calculate the 10 fans, right, and the electricity that you're going to use to power that whole house, right, just to keep the house moving. I'm going to use the phrase moving in terms of like being lived in, right? I'm just going to use the phrase moving. In terms of having that, it's going to cost you money. In terms of painting each individual room, upkeeping each individual room, right? The electricity, the water now you're going to need, because now you can't, your whole house, your 10-bedroom house, one poly tank cannot serve it anymore. Now you're going to need a few poly tanks. You're going to need one on the top, one on the ground, one on the back. You may need 4 poly tanks just to make sure that you have enough reserve in this 10-bedroom house that you have going for you, especially if all the rooms are taken. You're going to need extra everything. It's going to give you additional costs. It's not just, you can't just say, okay, well, I'm going to have one small poly tank that's going to run the whole house. It's not going to work for you. You're going to need more than that. So you're having to put in more because you have this huge house that maybe you're not even utilizing the full dynamics of the whole house. You're only using a small section of the house, but you're now having to upkeep this mega house. Now, also, you have this huge 10-bedroom house. When there's light off, dumso, are you going to, your generator, do you think you're going to buy some 5 kVA generator? It's not going to handle the house. It's not going to. You're going to have to buy something more industrial that can manage the whole house. That's even if you're using the whole house, right? You're going to have to buy something that's going to have the capacity to run through the whole house for you. So therefore, again, additional cost. Even for me here, right, I have solar. The solar that I have cannot power the whole house. The solar that I have can power this floor, but once I've finished doing the floor upstairs, I'm going to have to get another solar system because it's the inverter cannot carry both levels of the house. And so, but I knew this when I was buying the system. I knew that I would need a second system to power the upstairs too. So I was ready for that. I'm ready for that expense to when it's time for it to kick in. But if you're going to go for a generator or something like that, you're going to have to get bigger. Even if you are going for a solar system, you're going to have more panels, more batteries, more everything. Your system is going to have to be stronger in order to power the whole place. And then we have to think about when faults happen. Now we're having to trace the fault. Your big, massive house that you have to trace it through. There's an electrical problem now. We have to go through all the rooms. There's just a lot more upkeep when it comes to having this mega house. It also does make sense if you're building a bigger house, right? It's going to cost you more to actually build the house and raise it up. Sometimes, and I know one of the things that happens to me is when they start digging the foundations for the ground, right? You don't realize how big the house is until the walls go up. Even with once they've dug the trenches on the floor, right? It's still difficult to tell how big this house is until it's raised up. Once you see the walls go up, then you're like, oh my gosh. A lot of people freak out because they're like, I didn't really expect it to be this big. So it really takes a lot of planning when you're building a house to make sure that you're building a size that you can actually manage and that it's not going to feel too overwhelming for you. Because remember, the bigger your house is, the longer it's even going to take you to build if you don't have the finances up front. Look at me. Because I'm saying it because I know some of you people are going to come from the comments. Hey, you two, you've got a house, you haven't finished building. Yeah, I haven't finished building my house. My house is big. Yes. And so that's how I can talk with chest when it comes to doing this video, because my house is big and I'm having to think, oh my gosh, I still have another floor to go. I still have things that I want to do and it's going to cost me. But I've made peace with the fact that it's going to cost me. I'm cool with it because I know what I want my house to be in the future. And so therefore, I want to have the space available to me to use in that way. So I'm ready for the expense of that. And so that's what it is. But some people are not ready for the expense of that. They haven't counted that cost. And so that's why I'm saying that don't get carried away when you're building this mega super house that you want to have. And even if you're trying to build it thinking that, but I've got lots of family that live abroad who want to come on holiday. I want to have the extra space. That's great. And no one's knocking that. But in also doing that, you have to think that, well, how many times a year are they going to come? Because, in the West, States, maybe you get 2 weeks holiday a year. UK, 4 weeks, if you're lucky, right? You can't even take it all together. You can't take a whole month off work. You get it in bits. So it's like, how often really are people coming to stay with you that you must have these extra bedrooms, And so sometimes I don't want you to get carried away with trying to build this dream lifestyle that it actually becomes unattainable. So many people build and cannot finish, or build and pass away before the house is finished because it's just taken so many years for them to be able to do it because they haven't been able to count the cost. It's expensive to build. Iron rod, like when I hear iron rods, I start shaking because I'm like, iron rods are expensive. Do you know how many tons of iron rods that you will need for that house? Like, make sure you get your bill of quantity before you build that house, or you start thinking about that house, because your iron rods is going to be one of the most expensive things that you're going to need to put into that house. And it's going to cost you a lot of money. It's a pretty penny, I can tell you that. Another thing that you have to consider when you're building this house is, if anything happens and you need to sell, how many people are really looking for a 10-bedroom house? I've said it before, like, trying to sell property in Ghana is not the same as trying to sell property in the West, where you can get a buyer, a few months, you can get a buyer unless your house is in some type of real disrepair, and then you're going to have to sell it for under market value, right? But if you have a house that's of good standing, selling it here is going to be difficult when it's so huge, because most people know that, this one, it's a nice house and maybe the price is reasonable, but you know what? The cost that's going to be involved in me trying to purchase this house and upkeep the maintenance of it is going to be too much. So you're going to put people off. It's better to have a moderate-sized house that you can manage and live that way. For me personally, I'll tell you what I would do if I wanted to have a huge house. I'd make it 2 houses. Honestly speaking, that's what I would make it 2 houses. And although there is still going to be some cost involved because I'm still going to have to maintain the second house, I would have that house where, hey, if I want to do it as an Airbnb rental, I'll do it as an Airbnb rental and have my house. Or when I have family members over, that's where they can stay. So me, I still have my privacy. Me, I like privacy, right? I don't particularly strive to have people in my house because I am an introvert and I need my space to recharge. That's just how I am personally. Some people love it, having tons of people around them. I don't particularly like that. So for me, if I can keep my space, I will keep my space. So that's what I would do. I would have my own house where, I can have a few visitors in, and that's cool. But ideally, I would use another house for hosting my guests. And while there is no one around, I'll just use it as an Airbnb or something like that. That's what would work for me. I'd much rather have that and sell the house as having 2 houses. So if it comes to ever a time where I need to sell, you know what, I'm selling 2 houses and not just one. That's more manageable for people where, maybe you can sell it to them like, okay, well, I have this second house that you can use as income generating rather than it just being one house that is unattainable to someone. Or you sell it off as being 2 houses and you just split it down the middle, put a wall in the middle or whatever. There are different options. So personally for me, that's what I would do. I wouldn't build a mega house of 10 bedrooms. I would split them 5-5 or however I want to do it. 3 bedrooms, 7 bedrooms, if that's what I want to have. I would much rather do it that way. But anyway, that's just food for thought. I just don't want you, when you come to Ghana, to get carried away. It's so easy to think of Ghana as being this dream place where, we can have all the things that we've ever wanted. We've seen rich people have, it's attainable for us in Ghana. And so we want to go for that. And there's nothing wrong with going for that. But we have to also look at what the reality of what that is going to mean for us. Do we have the money to upkeep? Because Ghana here, upkeeping a house is very expensive. I can't tell you the number of times where I have things in my house that need repairing. You think about even having light off. When it comes to having light off, it can knock out your appliances sometimes if you're not careful, because the light goes off. When it comes back on, sometimes there's too much of a surge in the system. And if you don't have something to regulate that power, it can knock out your items. I remember one time my microwave stopped working because of how the power came back in. So then you have to think about ways around that. So now for me, what I do is when the power goes off, I flick this fuse off. When I realize the power has come back, then I put the fuse back on, because I don't want to have that initial surge of power and knock out my appliances. My idea is to be just off-grid. For me, that's a perfect plan. If my whole house runs on complete solar, which it pretty much almost does, there's a few things that are not on solar, but for the most part, my house runs on solar. For me, that's more stable. But again, it comes at cost, an initial cost. But so you have to think about these things, you know. So don't just go and get carried away with trying to create this dream lifestyle for yourself that you haven't actually thought about what the realities are of that, you know. So that's pretty much where I'm going to end the video for today. I feel like I've touched on a few little things, and maybe I will. If there are things that I've spoken about in the video where you would like me to emphasize a bit more, let me know. So I'm open to consultations. So if you would like a one-on-one consultation with me about moving to Ghana, let me know. Send me an email to dela@moretodela.com. Also, if you haven't signed up for the Business Hub, where you can list your business if you have it in Ghana, and you know, there will be a time, I'm waiting for it to build up, but there will be a time where I will be showcasing some of these businesses. It's free to list your business on there. You can do that. The link is in the description box for you to be able to go ahead and do that. Okay, so that's the end of today's video. I hope you've enjoyed it. If you haven't already subscribed to this channel, I would love it if you'd do me a favor and hit the subscribe button and the notification bell. Don't forget to also like, comment and share this video. Until next time, I am out. Let's see.